The impossible defiance. The Galactic Empire had ruled the known galaxy for 5 millennia. Their dominion stretched across 12 spiral arms, encompassing over 3 million inhabited worlds. Species bowed before their might, cultures crumbled under their influence, and those who resisted simply ceased to exist. Emperor HFY, seated upon his crystalline throne on Zerthos Prime, had never known defeat. His ancestors had crushed civilizations that spanned entire nebulas, silenced rebellions that burned across star clusters, and established an order that seemed eternal. When the exploration probe discovered Earth in the outer reaches of an insignificant spiral arm, no one in the imperial court gave it much thought. Another primitive world to be cataloged, assessed, and absorbed into the empire. The humans they found were barely spacefaring, their ships crude metal constructs that struggled to maintain orbit. Ambassador Xylox led the first diplomatic mission to Earth. His fleet of 12 golden vessels appeared in Earth's skies like divine chariots, broadcasting the same message that had brought countless worlds to their knees. Submit to the Galactic Empire and no prosperity. Resist and face extinction. Earth's response came 3 days later. Not through formal channels, not with diplomatic protocols, but with a simple broadcast from their United Nations. We respectfully decline your offer. Earth stands free. The imperial court erupted in laughter. A backwater planet rejecting the might of the Galactic Empire. It was absurd. Ambassador Xylox was ordered to demonstrate proper imperial authority. His fleet never returned. The silence that followed was deafening. No distress signals, no battle reports, nothing. 12 of the Empire's finest diplomatic vessels simply vanished as if they had never existed. Deep space scanners showed nothing but empty void where they should have been. High Commander Tyraxis, veteran of 1,000 conquests, took personal command of the situation. He assembled the 7th Legion, a force of 40 warships and 200,000 soldiers, each one capable of subjugating entire solar systems. These humans need to learn their place, Tyraxis declared before his departure. I will return with their leaders in chains. The 7th Legion emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter, their sensors immediately detecting unusual activity on Europa, one of the planet's moons. As they moved to investigate, their communications officers reported strange interference patterns. The attack came without warning. Not from Earth, not from Mars, but from within Jupiter's radiation belts. Ships materialized from nowhere, sleek black vessels that moved with impossible agility. They didn't fight like any force the Empire had encountered. They didn't form battle lines or engage in traditional naval warfare. They struck like phantoms, appearing and disappearing at will. The Battle of Europa lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, half of the 7th Legion was gone. No debris, no escape pods, just empty space where mighty warships had been moments before. Tyraxis ordered an immediate retreat, but as his remaining forces prepared to jump to hyperspace, every screen in his fleet displayed the same message. A human face appeared, young, but with eyes that held ancient determination. This was our scouting force, the human said calmly. The real army hasn't even arrived yet. The transmission ended, leaving Tyraxis and his officers in stunned silence. In all their conquests, they had never encountered anything like this. Where were these ships coming from? How could a supposedly primitive species possess such technology? Deep beneath the Australian outback, in a facility known only as Terra Command, General Helena Voss watched the battle data with satisfaction. Around her, officers monitored screens showing similar engagements across the solar system. Phase 1 complete, she announced. The Empire took the bait. Colonel Marcus Chen approached her station. They'll send more ships, General. Bigger fleets. Helena nodded. Let them. They still don't understand what they're dealing with. She turned to address the command center. Initiate Tempest Protocol. It's time to wake the sleepers. Across Earth, in bunkers hidden beneath mountains, oceans, and deserts, thousands of cryogenic pods began their awakening sequences. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were humanity's answer to a threat they had anticipated for over a century. When the first alien signals reached Earth in the 1970s, world leaders made a decision. Instead of announcing contact, they prepared. While the public lived their lives unaware, a secret alliance formed. Resources were diverted, technology was developed, and an army was built in the shadows. The Tempest soldiers were the result of that preparation. Enhanced humans trained in zero-gravity combat, equipped with technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien craft and improved by human innovation. They had waited decades for this moment. On Zerthus Prime, emergency sessions of the Imperial Council convened daily. Reports flooded in from across the Empire's frontier. Human ships appearing in supposedly secure systems, striking critical infrastructure, then vanishing without a trace. "They're not conquering," strategic advisor Calith observed. "They're dismantling our ability to wage war." Emperor Xarath slammed his fist on the throne's armrest. "How? How can one primitive species do this to us?" "Perhaps," Calith suggested carefully, "they are not as primitive as we assumed." The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury. "Send the Imperial Guard. Send everything. I want Earth burned to cinder." But even as he gave the order, a new report arrived. The Andromeda Relay Station, a critical communications hub for the entire Empire, had gone dark. The last transmission showed human soldiers moving through its corridors with impossible stealth, disabling systems with surgical precision. In the void between stars, humanity's true fleet gathered. Not the scout ships that had terrified the 7th Legion, but the main battle force. Massive vessels constructed in hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon and in the asteroid belt. Each one represented decades of preparation, incorporating not just alien technology, but human creativity and adaptability. Admiral Sarah Nakamura stood on the bridge of the flagship Resilience, reviewing deployment plans. "The Empire expects us to defend Earth," she said to her officers. "They're wrong. We're taking the fight to them." As news of humanity's capabilities spread through the Empire, something unprecedented began to happen. Subjugated species, long resigned to Xerthan rule, began to stir. If humans could resist, perhaps others could too. The Xerthan Empire, for the first time in its history, faced not just an enemy, but a catalyst for revolution. And still, the real human army hadn't fully revealed itself. General Voss received confirmation that all Tempest units were active. She opened a channel to Admiral Nakamura. "Sarah, it's time. Begin Operation Rising Storm." "Understood, Helena. The fleet is ready." "Remember," Voss added, "this isn't about conquest. It's about breaking their will to fight. The Empire is about to learn why you don't threaten humanity's home," Nakamura replied. "They wanted to see our true strength. They're about to get their wish." In the depths of space, the largest human fleet ever assembled began to move. Their destination, the heart of the Xerthan Empire itself. The real war was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Hidden Legions. The Tempest Protocol's activation sent ripples across Earth's hidden military infrastructure. In the Pacific Ocean's deepest trenches, submarine fortresses opened their locks. Beneath the Sahara's endless dunes, armored divisions stirred. From the frozen wastes of Antarctica, squadrons of advanced fighters launched into the stratosphere. General Helena Voss stood in Terra Command's war room, watching as green indicators lit up across the global display. Each light represented a unit that had remained dormant for decades, waiting for this exact moment. The scale of preparation would have staggered even Earth's own civilian population, had they known. "Status report," she commanded. Lieutenant Eva Rostova responded promptly. "All Tempest battalions online. Neural links established. Combat readiness at 98.7%. These weren't ordinary soldiers. The Tempest program had pushed human enhancement to its limits. Cybernetic augmentations, genetic modifications, and neural interfaces created warriors who could process information at superhuman speeds, survive in any environment, and interface directly with their equipment. Colonel Chen approached with new intelligence. "General, we've intercepted Xerthan communications. They're mobilizing their entire inner fleet." Voss smiled grimly. "Good. They're doing exactly what we expected." In orbit around Neptune, cloaked by the planet's magnetic field, Admiral Nakamura's fleet prepared for the next phase. The Resilience's bridge hummed with controlled activity as officers coordinated with similar vessels hidden throughout the solar system. "Admiral," Commander James Wilson reported, "long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures approaching the Kuiper Belt. It's the Imperial Guard." Nakamura nodded. "They're bringing their elite forces. Excellent. Signal all ghost fleets. Execute Protocol Shadow Dance." The Imperial Guard represented the pinnacle of Xerthan military might. 100 capital ships, each larger than anything humanity had openly displayed. They entered the solar system with absolute confidence, their commander certain that overwhelming force would end this embarrassing rebellion. High Marshal Zorath commanded from the dreadnought Eternal Supremacy. His reputation for ruthless efficiency had earned him the nickname World Breaker. As his fleet advanced toward Earth, he broadcast a final ultimatum. "Humans of Earth, you have shown remarkable but futile resistance. Surrender now, and some of you may yet survive as servants of the Empire. Continue this pointless defiance, and your species will be erased from history." The response came not in words, but in action. From within the asteroid belt, humanity's ghost fleets emerged. These weren't the crude ships that Xerthans expected. Sleek, angular vessels materialized from seemingly empty space, their hulls absorbing scanner waves rather than reflecting them. They moved with a fluid grace that defied conventional physics. The first engagement lasted mere minutes. 3 Imperial Guard cruisers simply vanished, pulled into artificial singularities generated by human gravity weapons. Another found its shields useless against phased energy beams that passed through them as if they didn't exist. Marshal Zorath watched in disbelief as his superior forces struggled against an enemy that seemed to bend reality itself. "Impossible," he muttered. "Their technology. It's beyond anything in our databases." On the frozen moon of Triton, Lieutenant Miguel Santos led a Tempest strike team through the ruins of what had been a secret Xerthan observation post. His augmented vision pierced the darkness, highlighting enemy positions before they could react. "Echo Team, advance," he whispered through the neural link. His soldiers moved like shadows, their powered armor making no sound despite the moon's thin atmosphere. They eliminated the Xerthan garrison with clinical precision, leaving no witnesses to report their methods. Similar scenes played out across the outer solar system. Humanity had spent a century studying their eventual enemy, analyzing every piece of recovered alien technology, every intercepted transmission. They knew Xerthan tactics, psychology, and weaknesses better than the Xerthans knew themselves. In the Imperial Palace on Zerthos Prime, Emperor Xarath received reports with growing alarm. His inner fleet, the force that had never known defeat, was being systematically dismantled. Worse, uprisings were beginning on conquered worlds as news of humanity's success spread. "How?" he demanded of his advisors. "How can one species, isolated on a single world, develop such capabilities without our knowledge?" Science Minister Vilex offered a theory. "Your Excellency, it appears the humans have been preparing for this confrontation since before we knew of their existence. They must have detected our expansion centuries ago." "Centuries?" The Emperor's voice dripped with disbelief. "Our analysis suggests they've been reverse engineering technology from our scout ships that went missing in their sector over the past 100 years. But they didn't just copy it. They improved it, adapted it to their own understanding of physics." Strategic Advisor Caliph added, "They fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't seek to occupy territory or capture resources. They strike at critical points and vanish. They're waging psychological warfare as much as physical." Back in Sol System, Operation Shadow Dance reached its crescendo. Admiral Nakamura's fleet had drawn the Imperial Guard into a carefully prepared killing zone in the asteroid belt. As Xerthan ships struggled to navigate the debris field, human vessels used the asteroids themselves as weapons, altering their trajectories with gravity manipulators. Marshal Zoreth's dreadnought shuddered under impacts that shouldn't have been possible. His shields held, but barely. Around him, the pride of the Imperial Guard burned and died. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with barely contained panic, "we've lost contact with 40% of our fleet. The enemy, they're everywhere and nowhere." A new transmission interrupted their crisis management. This time, it was Admiral Nakamura herself who appeared on their screens. "Marshal Zoreth," she said calmly, "you came to our home with threats of extinction. Now you face the consequences. But I offer you a choice. Withdraw your remaining forces, or watch them join the debris field you've created." Zoreth's pride warred with his survival instinct. "The Xerthan Empire does not retreat," he snarled. "Then the Xerthan Empire will die here," Nakamura replied. The transmission ended. What followed would be remembered in Imperial history as the Massacre of the Belt. Using tactics that seemed to defy physics, human ships herded the remaining Imperial Guard vessels into kill zones where hidden weapons platforms unleashed devastating firepower. When it was over, only 12 Xerthan ships escaped to carry news of the disaster back to the Empire. General Voss monitored the battle's conclusion from Terra Command. She turned to her staff. "Phase 2 complete. The Empire's offensive capability in this sector is broken." She paused, letting the moment sink in. "Begin Phase 3. It's time to show them what real invasion looks like." Across Earth, massive hangar doors opened in locations that had been hidden from satellites and sensors for decades. Ships larger than any the Xerthans had yet seen began to rise from underground facilities. These weren't fighters or cruisers, but true battleships, each one a mobile fortress carrying enough firepower to devastate planets. In medical bays throughout the fleet, the most elite Tempest soldiers underwent final preparations. These were the vanguard, humans who had volunteered for the most extreme enhancements. Some barely looked human anymore, their bodies rebuilt for war in ways that would have horrified earlier generations. Colonel Maya Patel, leader of Vanguard Force 1, flexed her cybernetic arm as technicians ran final diagnostics. Her left eye, replaced with a multi-spectrum sensor suite, focused on the mission briefing. Their target, Kelthis Station, a major Imperial military hub 3 systems from Zerthos Prime. "Remember," General Voss's voice came through the neural link, "we're not conquerors. We're liberators. Show the galaxy that the Empire's reign of fear is ending." The revelation of humanity's true military capability sent shockwaves through the Xerthan Empire. World after world reported sightings of human ships appearing in their systems, not to attack, but to broadcast messages of liberation. Species that had lived under Xerthan rule for millennia began to question their servitude. Emperor Xarath watched his empire begin to crumble from within. "Mobilize everything," he ordered desperately. "Every ship, every soldier. We'll drown them in numbers if we must." But his advisors knew the truth. The humans hadn't just built an army. They'd built a revolution. And revolutions, once started, were impossible to stop. As humanity's battleships formed up for their journey to the Empire's core worlds, a final message was broadcast on all frequencies. To all species suffering under Xerthan rule, hold fast. Liberation is coming. The real army has finally arrived. The Xerthan Empire had ruled through fear for 5,000 years. They were about to learn what happened when their victims stopped being afraid. When Earth strikes back, Operation Daybreak began not with explosions, but with silence. Across 100 Xerthan-controlled systems, communication networks went dark simultaneously. Military installations found their weapons systems locked out. Orbital defense platforms drifted powerlessly in space. General Helena Voss coordinated the galaxy-wide assault from Terra Command, now revealed to be far more than a planetary defense center. It was the nerve center of a rebellion that had been centuries in the making. All battle groups report ready status, Lieutenant Rostova announced. Vanguard forces are in position. Voss nodded. Execute. The assault on Kelthis Station marked the beginning of humanity's true offensive. Colonel Maya Patel led the vanguard through the station's supposedly impenetrable defenses. Her enhanced soldiers moved through corridors like lethal dancers, their augmented bodies processing combat data faster than any organic mind could comprehend. Section 7 secure, Patel reported through her neural link. Surthan commanders eliminated, beginning liberation protocols. Throughout the station, imprisoned members of subjugated species watched in awe as their cell doors opened. A human soldier appeared, removing his helmet to reveal a scared but smiling face. "You're free now," he said simply. "Will you fight with us?" The liberated prisoners didn't hesitate. Within hours, Kelthis Station had become a rallying point for rebellion, its armories open to arm those who had suffered under Surthan rule for generations. Admiral Nakamura's fleet carved a path through Imperial space, but not in the way that Exurthans expected. Instead of destroying worlds, they disabled oppression infrastructure, slave processing centers, thought control facilities, execution platforms. Each conquered system became a beacon of rebellion. "They're not invading," Science Minister Vilex reported to Emperor Xarath with growing horror. "They're liberating. Every world they touch rises against us." The Emperor's crystalline throne room had become a war council chamber. Holographic displays showed the Empire's territory hemorrhaging as system after system declared independence or joined the human-led coalition. "Impossible," Xarath muttered. "We are the natural rulers of the galaxy. These lesser species need our guidance." Strategic Advisor Calith dared to voice what others were thinking. "Perhaps, Your Excellency, that belief is why we're losing." On the industrial world of Nexus 4, formerly a center of forced labor, newly freed workers turned the factories against their oppressors. Guided by human advisors, they began producing weapons and ships for the rebellion. The Empire's own infrastructure was being turned against it. Captain David Chen, grandson of the Colonel Chen who had helped plan this moment, led a mixed squadron of human and alien pilots in the liberation of the Thyros cluster. His wing included pilots from 7 different species, all flying human-designed fighters. "Remember," he broadcast to his squadron, "we're not here for revenge. We're here to end tyranny." The Battle of Thyros became legendary not for its violence, but for its precision. Surthan military forces were neutralized with minimal casualties, while civilian infrastructure remained intact. The message was clear. Humanity waged war against oppression, not against life. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in a chamber known only to a select few, the true architects of humanity's century-long preparation gathered. These were the descendants of those who had first detected the Surthan Empire's expansion, who had made the decision to prepare in secret rather than reveal Earth's existence. Dr. Elena Kovic, great-granddaughter of the scientist who had decoded the first Surthan transmissions, addressed the council. "Phase 3 is proceeding beyond our best projections. The Empire is collapsing faster than anticipated." "What about the final contingency?" asked Director Singh, whose family had overseen the Tempest program for 3 generations. "Our deep cover assets confirm the Emperor is preparing to use it," Kovic replied grimly. "The Omega Protocol, a galaxy-wide sterilization weapon. If he can't rule the galaxy, he'll ensure no one can." General Voss, participating via secure link, interjected. "That's why we saved our biggest surprise for last. It's time to reveal the Prometheus Array." In orbit around stars throughout human-controlled space, massive structures began to decloak. These weren't ships or stations, but something far more ambitious, a network of quantum entanglement communicators and energy projectors that could coordinate faster than light responses across the galaxy. The Prometheus Array represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, developed in absolute secrecy. It could detect and neutralize the Omega Protocol before it activated. As human forces approached Zerthos Prime, Emperor Xarath made his final desperate decision. "Activate Omega Protocol," he commanded. "If the Empire falls, the galaxy falls with it." But when his technicians attempted to initiate the sequence, they found something impossible. The system had already been disabled, not by force or hacking, but by human agents who had infiltrated the highest levels of Xerthan society decades ago. The siege of Xerthos Prime began with an ultimatum delivered by Admiral Nakamura herself. Her fleet, now swollen with ships from liberated species, surrounded the imperial capital. "Emperor Xarath," she broadcast, "your reign of terror ends today. Surrender, and your people will be treated with dignity. Resist, and face the judgment of those you've oppressed." The Emperor's response came not in words, but in a final futile attack. The Imperial Palace's defense systems fired everything they had at the human fleet. Not a single shot reached its target. The Prometheus array created a defensive field that simply absorbed the energy, converting it into harmless light that painted the sky in aurora-like displays. Vanguard Force 1, led by Colonel Patel, breached the palace defenses. They moved through ornate corridors where countless species had once begged for mercy, finding only token resistance. Most Xerthan guards, seeing the writing on the wall, surrendered without fighting. In the throne room, Emperor Xarath waited alone, abandoned by his advisors and guards. Colonel Patil approached, her augmented form a stark contrast to the Emperor's decorative armor. "It's over," she said simply. "How?" Xarath demanded. "How did you do this? You were nothing, primitives playing with fire." Patil removed her helmet, revealing eyes that held both compassion and steel. "That was your mistake. You saw what we chose to show you. While you conquered through fear, we prepared through cooperation. While you demanded submission, we built alliances. Every species you oppressed became our teacher. Every atrocity you committed fueled our determination." General Voss arrived to accept the formal surrender. As she entered the throne room, she brought with her representatives from dozens of formerly subjugated species. "The Xerthan Empire is dissolved," she announced. "In its place, we propose a galactic assembly where all species have equal voice. Not an empire, but a community." The transition wasn't without challenges. Some Xerthan hardliners attempted to continue fighting, but without central coordination or popular support, their efforts quickly failed. The liberated species, rather than seeking revenge, largely embraced the human proposal for reconciliation and cooperation. Admiral Nakamura addressed the first session of the Galactic Assembly. "We didn't build our army to conquer, but to liberate. Now that liberation is achieved, that army will stand down. But know this, should tyranny rise again, anywhere in this galaxy, humanity will be ready." In the years that followed, the story of humanity's patient resistance became legend. How a species deemed primitive had secretly prepared for a century, building not just weapons but a vision for a better galaxy. How they had fought not for dominance but for freedom. The Tempest soldiers returned to their hidden bases, ready to resume their long sleep until needed again. The ghost fleets disappeared back into the void. Earth resumed its appearance as a relatively unremarkable world. But throughout the galaxy, species who had known only oppression now knew hope. And they knew that somewhere, watching and waiting, humanity stood ready to defend that hope. For the Xerthan Empire had learned too late the truth about humanity. The real army hadn't been the ships or soldiers or weapons. The real army was the indomitable human spirit, the refusal to accept tyranny, and the patient determination to not just survive, but to ensure freedom for all. The galaxy had changed forever, and in the night sky above countless worlds, children of many species looked up at the stars and whispered stories of the humans who had shown them that no empire, no matter how powerful, could stand against the united will of those who yearned to be free. The age of empires had ended. The age of cooperation had begun.